Hey everybody, today I'm going to review War for the Planet of the Apes, sequel to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Interesting fact that we have two ape movies this year, both Kong Skull Island and now this new Planet of the Apes movie. Since I am a huge fan of the Planet of the Apes franchise, I had a wonderful experience seeing the new Planet of the Apes movies. Rise of the Planet of the Apes was fantastic, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, in my opinion, is the best of the entire Planet of the Apes movies, and also the Dark Knight of movie sequels. So I became super excited to see the third Planet of the Apes movie, and hearing that the new Planet of the Apes series is going to be a trilogy. I saw it in 3D, and it's incredible. A wonderful finale to this latest Planet of the Apes films, and I'm definitely going to tell you why I love this movie without any spoilers. The story of this film took place 2 years after the events of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. It's pretty much about the war between the apes and the humans. It starts off where the apes have increasingly rise to take over the whole earth, and those US military called the Alpha Omega, led by the Colonel, are going to hunt and destroy the apes once and for all. When the apes are suffering, Caesar has released his darker instincts to get revenge on the Colonel. So Caesar had decided to go on a journey along with his friends Maurice, Rocket, and Luca to avenge their kind, as well as encountering and become allies with a little mute girl named Nova and the chimpanzee named Bad Ape. And that's where the excitement begins. I think the story of this film is excellent. Plus, there are intense moments, some funny moments, and also sad moments in the film. I even find it interesting that Rise of the Planet of the Apes is like Batman Begins, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is like The Dark Knight, and War for the Planet of the Apes is like The Dark Knight Rises. I also enjoyed the darker tone of this film. The special effects in this film are brilliant as always. The motion capture of those apes are so realistic and unique. I really like their facial expression and how they act, move, and speak. I also like the environments, the designs of the military base, and the costume designs. The action scenes in this film are so mind-blowing and exciting to look at. I really love the battle between the apes and the humans. Also, some of the fight scenes are very brutal to see and hear. Now let's move on to the acting, directing, and music. Andy Serkis as always did a spectacular job playing Caesar. Caesar of course is the talking chimpanzee who has a wife and 2 sons that care and lead his clan of fellow apes to survive and find a peaceful home to live. Now in this film, Caesar has to wrestle his darker instinct to avenge his kind from suffering by the hands of the Colonel and his soldiers. Returning from the previous films is Maurice the male orangutan played by Karen Cornovo, Rocket the chimpanzee played by Terry Notary, and Cornelia played by Judy Geer. All still did a great job. Maurice and Rocket are 2 of Caesar's close friends that join Caesar on a quest to stop the Colonel and his soldiers. Cornelia is of course Caesar's wife, even though she's not really in this film too much. Caesar's son, Blue Eyes, now played by Max Lloyd Jones, was also not in this film too much. We are introduced to new ape characters like Luca the gorilla, played by that guy who played that dwarf king in the Warcraft movie, Bad Ape, played by Steve Zahn, who has been in movies like Crimson Tide, Out of Sight, You've Got Mail, and The Good Dinosaur, Cornelius, played by Devian Dalton, and Lake, played by Sarah Canning. Luca is one of Caesar's friends that also joins Caesar on the quest. Bad Ape, I think, is a very awesome and lovable skinny chimpanzee who became friends and allied with Caesar, Maurice, Rocket, Luca, and Nova. Plus, he was both funny and serious at the same time. Cornelius is the younger son of Caesar and Cornelia, as well as the younger brother of Blue Eyes. Lake is a female chimpanzee who looked up to Caesar. Then there's a new human character, Nova, played by Amia Miller, did a pretty cool job playing that little girl who is mute and was later taught how to do sign language by Maurice. She grew a much closer bond with Caesar and his ape friends. I did find it interesting that Nova, the little mute young girl, was named after Nova, the mute young lady, from the original 1968 Planet of the Apes movie. Now for the new villain, the Colonel, played by Woody Harrelson. Oh my goodness, Woody did a magnificent job playing that evil Colonel, who is so evil, menacing, ruthless, and his goal is to destroy Caesar and his fellow apes. He's pretty much like the late Marlon Brando's character in Apocalypse Now. Another villain in this film is Red, played by Ty Olsson, who used to be one of Koba's followers, but when Caesar defeats Koba from the last film, he decided to team up with the Colonel and his soldiers to terminate Caesar and his fellow apes. He's kind of like Uncle Ruckus from the Boondocks, but in the more dark and serious version. Matt Reeves, as always, did a wonderful job directing this movie, as he did with Dawn. Since that he made films so dark and realistic, he is currently hired to direct a new Batman movie starring Ben Affleck. The music composed by Michael Giacchino sounds very intense, dark, and almost sounds like an African music. So overall, this is a wonderful conclusion to this new Planet of the Apes trilogy. It's the best third finale film I saw since Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. Even though I think Kong Skull Island is still a great movie, I actually love this movie more than Kong Skull Island. In my opinion, much like The Dark Knight Rises being the second best Batman movie after The Dark Knight, it's the second best Planet of the Apes movie after Dawn. I also consider this new Planet of the Apes trilogy the perfect trilogy, along with the Lord of the Rings and the Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. If you're a fan of Planet of the Apes, go see it. So I give this movie 5 out of 5 nuclear bombs.